Did you know that nearly 55 million people around the world are currently living with dementia? And every 3 seconds, someone new is diagnosed. That's not just a statistic, that's a wave. One that is quietly sweeping through families, aging communities, and entire nations. But here's what most people don't realize. Dementia is now the seventh leading cause of death globally. And in many cases, it isn't just age. It's not just genetics. It's the pills you might be taking every single day, the medications you trust, the ones your doctor prescribed years ago and you've never questioned, maybe silently shrinking your brain, speeding up memory loss, pushing you closer to Alzheimer's, and you wouldn't even know it. That's why we made this video. Because if you're over 60, you deserve to know the truth. In this series, we're uncovering 9 commonly prescribed drugs, medications you probably recognize, that have been linked by medical studies to increased risk of dementia, cognitive decline, and memory damage. Some are over the counter, some are considered safe, but all of them, in the wrong hands and over time, can be harmful to aging minds. And stay with us until the end, because we'll also reveal 3 powerful brain-protecting foods backed by research that could help slow or even prevent dementia naturally. This information could change your life or the life of someone you love. And if this is your first time here, welcome to Senior Fit, where we bring you the truth about aging, health, and how to live a stronger, smarter, and more independent life after 60. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the vital health advice we share every week. Now let's begin our journey with medication number 9. Medication number 9. First-generation antihistamines, diphenhydramine, Benadryl. Let's start with something you probably have in your medicine cabinet right now. Antihistamines. Specifically, first-generation antihistamines like diphenhydramine, the active ingredient in Benadryl. Many older adults rely on these medications to treat allergies, colds, or even as a sleep aid. They're sold over the counter. They seem harmless. But here's the truth. These drugs belong to a class called anticholinergics, and that class is dangerous for your brain. These medications block a vital neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Think of acetylcholine as a key messenger that helps your brain cells talk to one another. It's especially important for memory, attention, and learning. When you block it repeatedly, day after day, things begin to change. You might forget your keys more often. You might lose your train of thought mid-sentence. You might struggle to remember names you used to recall effortlessly. And that's only the beginning. A major study published in JAMA Internal Medicine found that people who used strong anticholinergics daily for just 3 years had a 54% higher risk of developing dementia. And the effects are often subtle at first, so subtle you might not even connect them to the pill you're taking for sleep or allergies. The scariest part? These drugs don't require a prescription. You can buy them at the pharmacy, the grocery store, even online, without warning labels for seniors. But your brain notices, especially if you're over 60. The medications we think are mild may be slowly harming the very thing we depend on most, our mind. Let's move on to another class of drugs, one that's prescribed by doctors far more often than it should be. Imagine you've been feeling anxious, restless, or unable to sleep. You visit your doctor, and they give you something to help. A little white pill. It works quickly. You feel calmer. You finally sleep. And so, you take it again and again, and soon, it becomes a part of your nightly routine. But what if I told you that pill could be quietly altering the very structure of your brain? This is the case with benzodiazepines, a class of medications prescribed for anxiety, insomnia, muscle spasms, and sometimes even seizures. Common names include Valium, diazepam, Xanax, alprazolam, and Ativan, lorazepam. At first glance, they seem like miracle drugs. They relax you. They soothe your nerves. They help you sleep. But what they're doing behind the scenes may be far more damaging than anyone told you. Benzodiazepines work by increasing the activity of a neurotransmitter called GABA, which slows down brain function. It's like putting your brain in a hammock. Everything relaxes, including your memory, your reflexes, your alertness. But here's what your doctor may not emphasize. The brain does not like to be slowed down indefinitely. Long-term use of benzodiazepines has been linked to memory impairment, difficulty concentrating, mental confusion, slowed reaction time, and even structural brain changes. A study published in the BMJ found that individuals who used benzodiazepines for more than 3 months had a 51% increased risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. And the risk doesn't stop there. Many older adults take these medications for years, sometimes decades, without ever being warned about their neurological effects. You may notice subtle changes. You feel more tired during the day. You begin reacting slower in conversations. You forget small tasks more frequently. You lose interest or feel emotionally flat. These aren't just symptoms of aging. They're red flags. And for many, they point to something deeper, a brain that's being over-sedated. If a medication helps you sleep but steals your clarity, is it really helping at all? The real danger lies in how familiar these medications have become. They're trusted. They're prescribed. But when taken long-term, especially by aging brains, they may be doing more harm than good. If you or someone you love has been using benzodiazepines regularly, it may be time to reevaluate. But benzodiazepines aren't the only everyday medication quietly affecting memory. For millions of older adults, acid reflux, indigestion, or heartburn are part of daily life. And the solution? Simple. Just take a pill. Drugs like omeprazole, Prilosec, pantoprazole, Protonix, or esomeprazole, Nexium, all part of a class called proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs, are among the most commonly prescribed medications in the world. They're incredibly effective at reducing stomach acid, and for short-term use, they can bring real relief. But long-term use? That's where the danger begins. While PPIs are helping your stomach, they may be quietly harming your brain. You see, stomach acid isn't just there to cause discomfort. It plays a key role in breaking down food and absorbing essential nutrients, including vitamin B12 and magnesium. Both of these nutrients are critical for brain health. Without enough B12, your brain struggles to maintain neurons, build memory connections, and keep cognitive processes sharp. A B12 deficiency can mental fog, depression, balance problems, and over time, permanent neurological damage. A German study involving over 73,000 adults found that those who regularly used PPIs had a 44% higher risk of developing dementia than those who did not. And yet many seniors continue taking these medications for years, sometimes even decades, without ever questioning their long-term effects. It's easy to assume that a little indigestion is worth the relief, but if you're noticing memory slips, confusion, or slow thinking, it might not be aging. It might be your reflux medication starving your brain of nutrients. And what's worse, PPIs often don't come with clear warnings about cognitive side effects, especially for older adults. You might not even realize your vitamin levels are dropping until symptoms appear. It's not just what you eat, it's what your brain can absorb. And some medications are silently blocking that process. If you've been on a proton pump inhibitor for more than a few months, talk to your doctor. Ask whether it's still necessary. Consider whether diet or lifestyle changes could help manage your symptoms without long-term medication. But if PPIs deplete vital nutrients, the next drug we'll discuss goes one step further. It alters brain chemistry in ways that can lead to sedation, confusion, and a shocking decline in function, even when it's prescribed to calm those very same symptoms. Sometimes, when an older adult becomes agitated, confused, or aggressive, especially those already experiencing cognitive decline, doctors turn to powerful drugs to help manage their behavior. These are known as antipsychotic medications. Drugs like risperidone, Risperdal, olanzapine, Zyprexa, and quetiapine, Seroquel, are commonly prescribed to older adults with dementia, schizophrenia, or bipolar disorder. The goal is to bring calm, to reduce distress, and make care easier. But what if the very medication designed to ease mental suffering is making it worse? Antipsychotics work by altering levels of dopamine and serotonin, two key neurotransmitters responsible for motivation, pleasure, memory, and emotional regulation. And while these drugs can indeed reduce extreme behaviors, they come with a steep cost. They suppress overall brain activity. This means that along with fewer outbursts, patients may also experience emotional blunting, sedation, slowed thinking, disrupted memory, and over time, accelerated cognitive decline. For patients already vulnerable to dementia, this is devastating. And here's something every family should know. The FDA has issued a black box warning, its strongest alert, against using antipsychotics in elderly patients with dementia due to increased risks of stroke and even death. But even in seniors without dementia, long-term use of these medications has been linked to significant declines in brain function. Simple tasks become overwhelming. Conversations become harder to follow. A once vibrant personality may fade into withdrawal and dependency. What starts as a temporary solution can become a long-term tragedy, where a calm demeanor hides the crumbling of independence and identity. A medication that calms someone shouldn't erase who they are. If you or someone you care about is taking an antipsychotic, especially for behavior control, it's essential to ask, is this drug truly necessary? Is there a safer, non-drug alternative? Has the dosage or duration ever been reassessed? Because while it may seem like the medication is helping, it might be slowly disconnecting the very wires that make up thought, memory, and personality. And these aren't the only drugs with this sedating effect. You just want a good night's sleep. As you get older, falling asleep and staying asleep becomes more difficult. So, your doctor prescribes something to help. Just a little pill to take the edge off. Or maybe you pick it up over the counter, trusting the label that promises gentle sleep. These medications, known as Z-drugs, include names like Zolpidem, Ambien, Esopiclone, Lunesta, Zaloplan, Sonata. And while they do help you fall asleep, the truth is, they don't support the kind of sleep your brain needs to stay healthy. Here's why. Z-drugs work by slowing down brain activity, mimicking some aspects of natural sleep chemistry. But instead of gently guiding you into the deep, restorative stages of sleep, They suppress important parts of the sleep cycle, particularly REM and deep sleep, the phases responsible for memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and mental restoration. So, even if you're unconscious for 7 or 8 hours, your brain may not be doing the work it needs to recover. You may wake up and still feel groggy, forget simple things like names or where you put your keys, struggle to focus throughout the day. That's because your brain didn't rest. It was chemically sedated. Even more concerning, Z drugs have been linked to an increased risk of dementia, especially when used regularly. A study published in the British Medical Journal found that seniors who used these medications were significantly more likely to develop cognitive impairment and also faced a higher risk of falls, confusion, and even nighttime wandering. And for people who are already experiencing mild memory issues, Z drugs may accelerate the progression into dementia. Sleep isn't just about hours. It's about how you sleep, and these pills may be stealing the most important stages. To make things worse, Z drugs often come with paradoxical effects: sleepwalking, hallucinations, and even nighttime eating with no memory of it. So what's the alternative? There are safer strategies. Melatonin, in regulated doses, supports natural sleep cycles. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, is shown to be more effective long-term than pills. Lifestyle shifts, like reducing screen time before bed, maintaining consistent routines, and creating a dark, quiet sleep environment, can make a world of difference. But we get it. When you're desperate for rest, reaching for a pill is easy. Just remember, the short-term calm may be costing you long-term clarity. Depression in older adults is real and often overlooked. Loneliness, chronic illness, grief, and the transitions of aging can bring on low mood, sadness, or emotional numbness. And in many cases, doctors turn to tricyclic antidepressants, or TCAs, to help. Medications like amitriptyline, doxepin, nortriptyline. These are some of the earliest antidepressants ever developed. And while they were revolutionary decades ago, today they come with a high price, especially for aging brains. Tricyclic antidepressants have strong anticholinergic properties, meaning they block acetylcholine, a critical neurotransmitter involved in learning, memory, and attention. You might remember this term from earlier in the video. Acetylcholine is like the brain's messenger system. When it's blocked or suppressed, your brain's ability to communicate slows down. What does this look like in everyday life? Trouble recalling names or conversations, slower thinking, difficulty planning or following directions, a feeling of mental fuzziness that doesn't go away. And the longer these medications are used, the greater the danger. A 2015 study published in JAMA Internal Medicine found a dose-dependent relationship between long-term use of anticholinergic drugs like tricyclic antidepressants and the risk of dementia. That means the more you take and the longer you use them, the higher your risk becomes. But here's the most tragic part. The very symptoms that may lead a doctor to prescribe a tricyclic, such as forgetfulness, fogginess, or fatigue, can be made worse by the drug itself. So patients think, I must be getting older, when in fact, the medication is mimicking cognitive decline. If your medicine for depression is stealing your memory, is it still medicine? To be clear, treating depression is important, but there are newer, safer antidepressants available, such as SSRIs, like sertraline or escitalopram, which don't carry the same cognitive risks. If you or a loved one is on a tricyclic antidepressant and showing signs of memory loss, slowed thinking, or confusion, it's time to talk to your doctor. Not to stop the medication suddenly, but to evaluate whether it's truly helping or quietly harming. And antidepressants aren't the only class of medications doing this. It's one of the most frustrating, embarrassing problems that many older adults face: an overactive bladder, the need to run to the bathroom, the fear of accidents, the constant urgency. To manage it, doctors often prescribe medications like oxybutynine, nidotropin, tolterodine, Detrol, solifenacin, Vesicare. These drugs are called antimuscarinics, and they help relax bladder muscles, reducing spasms and improving control. But there's something your doctor may not have explained clearly. These drugs are anticholinergics, and they block acetylcholine in the brain, just like some of the drugs we've already discussed. And the impact on memory and cognition can be serious. In a study conducted at the University of California, San Francisco, researchers found that older adults taking bladder medications like oxybutynine had significantly reduced brain volume, especially in regions responsible for memory and learning. They also performed worse on cognitive tests than those not taking the medication. Let's pause for a second. This isn't a mild side effect. This is measurable brain shrinkage. Reduced memory, impaired ability to plan, solve problems, and concentrate. And yet, many people take these drugs for years without ever being told they could be harming their mind. The irony is painful. You take a pill to help you live more freely, to avoid embarrassing bladder issues. But over time, it may chip away at the very independence you're trying to preserve. A quiet bladder is helpful, but not if it comes at the cost of a quiet mind. If you're on a bladder medication and you've noticed increased forgetfulness, difficulty focusing, trouble organizing your day, emotional flatness, or confusion, it may not be aging. It may be your medication. Speak to your doctor. There are newer bladder treatments with fewer cognitive side effects, as well as non-drug strategies that may work for you, such as bladder training, pelvic floor exercises, and fluid timing, because protecting your independence means protecting your brain. For decades, statins have been hailed as a medical breakthrough, prescribed to lower cholesterol and reduce the risk of heart attacks and strokes. They're among the most commonly used drugs by adults over 60. Names like atorvastatin, Lipitor, simvastatin, Zocor, rosuvastatin, Crestor. These medications have undoubtedly saved lives. But as we age, the question becomes, are statins protecting your heart at the expense of your brain? Let's explore the facts. While cholesterol is often portrayed as the villain, your brain needs it. In fact, the brain contains about 25% of all the cholesterol in your body. Why? Because cholesterol is essential for building and maintaining neurons, supporting the myelin sheath that protects brain signals, enabling the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. So when statins reduce cholesterol levels, both in your blood and in your brain, they can interfere with essential cognitive functions. Many seniors on statins report feeling mentally foggy, struggling to find words, forgetting familiar tasks, losing the sharpness they once had. And these aren't isolated anecdotes. A study published in the journal Pharmacotherapy found that 75% of patients who experienced memory issues while taking statins improved after stopping them. What's more, some research suggests statins may reduce the production of coenzyme Q10, a compound that helps produce energy in brain cells. Lower levels of CoQ10 have been associated with fatigue and reduced cognitive performance. Does this mean statins are bad? Not necessarily. Statins can be life-saving for individuals with a history of heart disease or stroke, but if you're taking statins and noticing memory changes, it's time to ask, is the dosage too high? Are there alternatives with fewer side effects? Is this drug still necessary at my age? Your heart matters, but so does your mind. Don't sacrifice one for the other without knowing the risks. This isn't about fear. It's about informed choices. If a medication is clouding your mind, it deserves a closer look, even if it's one you've been on for years. But we've saved the most concerning group of medications for last. We've covered a lot: sleep aids, antidepressants, anxiety pills, reflux meds, statins. But what if the most dangerous risk to your brain isn't just one medication, but the combination of many? That's the reality of anticholinergic drug stacking. These are medications that, on their own, may already have mild cognitive side effects. But when taken together, their anticholinergic effects multiply, slowly and silently depleting the brain of acetylcholine, the very chemical your neurons need to communicate, remember, and function. This happens more often than you think. You may be taking a sleep aid that contains diphenhydramine, a cold or allergy medication with a decongestant, a muscle relaxant like cyclobenzaprine, an antispasmodic for the stomach or bladder, an old antidepressant from years ago. Individually, they might seem harmless, but together, they act like a slow drip of poison to your memory, especially for older adults whose brains are already more sensitive. And here's what the science says. A 10-year study tracking over 400 adults found that those with high cumulative use of anticholinergic medications had a 54% greater risk of developing dementia, even if they stopped taking the drugs years before symptoms appeared. Think about that. The damage may begin long before the diagnosis ever comes. And the worst part? These drugs are everywhere. In your nightstand, your travel bag, your pharmacy's safe over-the-counter section. No one warns you that you might be taking 2, 3, even 5 anticholinergic drugs at once. And that combination could be slowly dismantling your ability to think clearly, recall memories, and stay independent. It's not just one pill. It's the cocktail effect, and your brain can't keep up. So what can you do? Review every medication and supplement you take, even the over-the-counter ones. Ask your doctor or pharmacist, does this have anticholinergic effects? Work with a provider to minimize or eliminate these drugs where safe and possible. Your brain is worth protecting because while dementia is often described as an unstoppable disease, in many cases, it's preventable, especially when caused or accelerated by medication. And that brings us to hope, because there are things you can do today to defend your memory, your focus, and your future. After hearing about the silent dangers hiding in your medicine cabinet, you might be wondering, is there anything I can do to fight back? The answer is yes. Because while some medications can harm your brain, certain natural foods have been scientifically proven to do the opposite. They nourish, protect, and even rejuvenate brain cells. They can help reduce inflammation, slow cognitive decline, and support sharper thinking, especially as we age. Here are 3 of the most powerful brain-protecting foods every older adult should consider adding to their daily routine. 3. Blueberries, the brain's natural shield. They may be small, but their impact is massive. Blueberries are rich in anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that fight oxidative stress. one of the leading causes of age-related brain damage. Think of oxidative stress as rust for your brain. Over time, it builds up and breaks down neural pathways. But blueberries act like internal cleaners, removing that damage and restoring cognitive function. In a study conducted by the University of Cincinnati, older adults who drank blueberry juice daily for 12 weeks showed significant improvements in memory and learning tests. Compared to a control group, blueberries are easy to add to your diet, on your morning oatmeal, in smoothies, as a midday snack. Each bite delivers more than flavor. It delivers protection. 2. Fatty fish. Fuel for a sharper mind. If there's one food group your brain craves, it's omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA. You'll find high amounts of DHA in salmon, sardines, mackerel. These healthy fats build brain structure, support neuron communication, and fight inflammation, which is a major driver of cognitive aging. A major meta-analysis published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease found that people who ate fatty fish at least once a week had up to 60% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's compared to those who rarely ate fish. And if you already have mild memory problems, DHA can help slow the progression and support existing brain function. Aim for 2 servings of fatty fish per week. And if you can't eat fish, consider a high-quality omega-3 supplement with your doctor's approval. Every forkful of salmon isn't just a meal, it's memory insurance. Next 1. Leafy green vegetables, nature's brain tonic. The most powerful brain food of all might already be in your fridge. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, collard greens are packed with vitamin K, lutein, folate, and beta-carotene, nutrients essential for protecting brain cells and supporting long-term cognitive health. A 5-year study published in Neurology found that older adults who ate 1 to 2 servings of leafy greens per day had cognitive abilities comparable to people 11 years younger. Let that sink in. Just a cup of greens a day could help your brain stay more than a decade younger. Toss them into soups. Blend them into smoothies. Stir them into pasta. However you do it, just make sure they're on your plate. Let's be clear. Dementia isn't always preventable. But in many cases, it doesn't come out of nowhere. It starts with small slips, foggy mornings, lost keys, forgotten names, and often it starts with a medication you didn't know could cause harm. But now you do know. You've learned which 9 medications to watch for. You've discovered the 3 foods that can nourish your mind. And most importantly, you've taken the first step, awareness. Now it's time to act. Review your medications. Ask your doctor the hard questions. Fuel your body and brain with real protective foods. Share this video with a friend, sibling, or parent who needs to hear this message. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Senior Fit. We're here to help you live stronger, longer, and smarter every single day. Your mind is worth defending. Your memories are worth protecting. And your life at every age is worth living fully. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.